right. This 12:04 meeting is called to order. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the regular scheduled meeting of the Hartford School Building Committee for today, Monday, August 16th. My name is Councilman T.J. Clark. I serve as the committee's vice chairperson. And Tony, please call the order. Please call the roll, sorry.
Sure. Good afternoon. Knowing that Chairman Colon is on vacay, we'll start with you, Mr. Clark. Thomas Clark, second.
Present.
Mr. Claudio Bazzano.
Present.
Ms. Kim Oliver.
Here.
Mr. Craig Stallings.
Here.
Okay, with 4 members and our alternates present, there is a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Moving right along. Next on our agenda is the acceptance of minutes from the July 19th, 2021 meeting. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved. Kim Oliver.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor of the acceptance of the minutes indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion is carried and passed. Next is our public participation time. Stan or Jack, do we have anybody signed in through our social media platforms that would have indicated that they would like to participate? How's our viewership so far? All right. Okay, we can circle back to that if we have time to see if anybody has indicated that they would like to address the committee. Next, we will have our administrative report by our project managers.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clark. The task we were given last month was to investigate abilities to have a virtual and in-person hybrid as a potential platform for HSBC meetings moving forward. We have discussed with the city clerk's office how the city council was intending to proceed. We also explored whether we could replicate that in our typical space at Hartford Public Library. Although there is a pipeline of technology that allows, or that would allow, the city council to move forward, we were informed that with the recent step backwards in COVID protocols that the city of Hartford has indicated, that the city council would be holding off going into that virtual direction. And we are talking about, when that opportunity opens up, what the potential would be for us to hold our meetings in that space at City Hall, in the city council chambers, to basically profit from that setup that would already be created to do hybrid council meetings. In talking with the Hartford Public Library, they don't have anything like that set up presently. Although Mary T was on vacation and wasn't able to confirm whether there were thoughts of going in that direction, it would appear to me that if we were to go to a hybrid, that the least cost, least effort route would be to piggyback on what the city council was intending to do. So it sounds as though at some point in the future that may be a practical step, but right now even the council has ruled their expectations back a bit. So I would expect at this point in time that the HSBC would also consider staying virtual only, at least through the next month, and let's see where the protocols go, if we can take a step forward again, or if we're still held back with mask mandates and other things that would cause us to be virtual only, as a safety measure.
Thank you, Jack, for that report. Yeah, it's amazing what a month can do as far as changing our environment and our community with the uptick in COVID cases due to the Delta variant. Yeah, we will look for a further detailed report. Hopefully soon, as things change. Hopefully they progress in on the good side of things as far as numbers. So just we'll like all of our community and those that are out in the forefront there, just to continue to keep themselves safe and protected. Okay, we can move along to the action item report.
All right, we have two action items today. The first of which is the change orders concerning Martin Luther King Jr. School for Downs. This is change order number 29 to Downs in the value of $167,225.80. These items have been reviewed and approved by the change order subcommittee. And I'll say that they constitute what should be the final construction related change orders. We do have some cleanup with these change orders and other similar transactions, being put into the various subcontracts. The subcontractors can now calculate what they may have as exposure for final bond costs. So we're likely to see another transaction coming from the MLK team for additional bond reconciliations, et cetera. But this should be the conclusion of the brick and mortar changes on MLK. As I said, the total value is $167,225.80, and we ask your endorsement.
Thank you for that. We're almost near the end for our MLK. Any questions for our project manager? If not, the chair will entertain a motion on this item.
So moved, Kim Oliver.
Second, Craig Stallings.
Motion has been made by Ms. Oliver and it's been seconded by Mr. Stallings. Any discussion on this item? Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. The motion is passed. Thank you. Moving right along, item number 2.
Second action item tonight is change order number 2 to Newfield Construction for the Buckley High School renovation. The value of this change order is $25,626. It deals with some additional asbestos uncovered during the demolition and abatement process, and some additional exploration work that is necessary to confirm some conditions out there that are different than the as-builts had shown, in order for design to be on target before we go out to bid for the renovation effort itself. Again, $25,626 has been reviewed and approved by the change order subcommittee, and we ask your endorsement.
Thank you, Jack. Any questions for Jack? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved, Craig Stallings.
Seconded, Claudio.
Motion has been made by Mr. Stallings and it's been seconded by Mr. Bazzano. Any questions? Any questions? All right. I'm sorry?
Oh, I said no, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. All in favor of this item indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion is carried. All right. And we can move along under this section to the project status report.
First status report today is for MLK. Brian, would you like to share some thoughts?
There we go. I had to get my unmute off. Well, we'd like to say that we're complete. We other than some last minute requests by the owner for hardware changes due to security reasons and safety for the school when the gymnasium is being used. For the most part, we're completed, and I think the project has been a success.
So with this, hopefully the September meeting will be the final construction related change, as I said, for bond reconciliations, et cetera. We should be able to package the project for presentation to both the HSBC and the Board of Ed to accept the project as complete, which then kicks off the submission process of the final documents to Office of School Construction Grants, leading to the state audit. And we know that the state has held, as it does on each project, a certain amount of the payments due the city until audit happens. And the sooner we can get it in the auditor's hands, the sooner the city can get that final check. So we are looking forward to the financial closeout and submission. Next report, please. Or any questions from the committee on MLK?
Just one quick question. After both the HSBC and the Board of Ed have accepted the report, how long would it take for the closeout process to take place?
From our side of the closeout process, Emily, would you postulate a couple of months to get everything prepped for the auditors?
Yeah, it usually depends. We can get everything ready in about 4 to 8 weeks, but then we have to wait until the auditors put us in their schedule. They have other districts that they visit, and it's up to them as to when they advise us when they'll be here.
Yeah. So 2 months from our end, but we have seen in previous projects it can be a matter of years before the auditors come. And with the involvement that we've had with OSCG on the Hartford projects, we know that their attention is drawn to them, and we're hoping that we'll get put to the front of the queue as far as the auditors. So it may be only months to a year before the audit comes versus waiting multiple years. But once we achieve financial closeout, we can make that request that they expedite.
And the auditors are actually from the Office of School Construction, or is it a private firm?
No, it's from the OSCGR.
All right, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're looking at it, I guess you can say that if probably the end of the year, knowing there were 4 months until December, we could have packaged everything, have all our files, and then probably even ask them to come in and to see us in the earlier of the year or even before the next fiscal year ends. We're getting pretty close, but they've seen that we can get everything ready for them to review, and they know our office, they know the staff at the office. So I'm pretty sure that they will be willing to come in and do a quick review of our items.
Thank you.
Okay, next report, please. Oh, if you would back up one page there, just to touch on the project financials. As everyone's aware, we did get additional funding provided for this project as it was coming upon the final stages of construction, boosting the project budget to just over $111 million. At present, and absent the last change orders with bond reconciliation, et cetera, we're still looking at approximately $2 million in owner contingency, meaning the project will close in the vicinity of 109.5 versus 111.5, which is good news for everyone, especially for the city side of the financial equation. So we were able to beat the revised budget.
That's always great news.
All right, next is Burns School. Burns is happily out to bid. Toya, would you like to provide an update?
Yes, it's about time. Burns is definitely about out to bid. The construction documents were presented to OSCGR on May 25th. And on July 20th, we received a conditional approval to go out to bid from OSCGR to proceed with the bidding process. While we are waiting for the approval from Planning and Zoning and the Historical Committee, that's why we received the conditional approval. The Office of School Construction's grant conditional approval to solicit for the work was received, as I said, July 20th, and we are out to bid on August 8th and 12th, and bids are possibly be received on Thursday, September 9th. And that's it.
As has been discussed in the past, as an occupied renovation, students in the school during the renovation process, we're doing small groups of classrooms, I believe up to 7 classrooms at a time, rather than being able to take over the entire building and turn it over to the CM in one large package. So there are extended construction protocols dividing off the building with hard dividers, from section to section, so that we can keep construction impacts away from the students and still mitigate any impacts to the educational process. So lots of small construction projects like pearls on a string that would be conducted over approximately 30 months of construction period. So this is the first project Hartford has done as an occupied renovation in over a decade, and seems to be the model that we'll have to follow moving forward, with less opportunity for swing space and busing students around to alternate locations for this project and those coming up in the future. But we are hopeful that the bids due in early September will not be any worse than the factors that we've built into the estimates. We are on budget to the revised projection, which is slightly over the original grant amount, but still within the 10% of discretionary approval that we have at the commissioner's level without having to go back to the legislature. City Council has been apprised of this change in bottom line value. So we are working within that 52 million for total project cost instead of the 47.7, which was originally approved in the grant. And again, keeping pencils sharp every step of the way to try to deliver it under that growth factor, up to 52.4. Are there any questions from the committee regarding Burns?
Hey, this is Nat Gale, Director of Operations with the city. Jack and team, can you just clarify for the record which portion of the contract or of the project is out to bid? So I know these projects get bid in many different phases. So can you just clarify which portion is on the street?
There was an original portion of the project which was to create pre-K classrooms in the building in time for the start of the fall 2020 school year. And that was a, can someone mute their mic, please? Hearing some background noise. So that first phase and its furniture and equipment component was completed last fall. We are now in the phase that will provide all of the renovations for the remaining portions of the building. Actually brings us back into those pre-K classrooms to take care of some infrastructure needs. But essentially, this is the big bite from the apple. This is the largest phase of work, furniture and equipment. And Toya, clarify for me: are we doing playgrounds as a separate phase, or is that part of the CM?
Playgrounds are the separate phase.
Okay, so furniture and equipment, technology, and playgrounds are the portions that will follow the work that's presently out to bid.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Just one quick question. What was the last school that was continued to be occupied while construction was taking place?
This is Claudio, through Chair. And during the period of 2004 and 2005, there was several schools that were done while they were occupied: Burr School, Webster, Rawson, and Naylor. Those were the last ones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we assessing the one with the sustainability or also to the financial, if there's a financial strain to transfer students to a swing space versus keeping them inside the school as construction is taking place? Are we keeping the track, doing a comparison as to if it's more prudent to keep the students inside the building versus allowing the building to be vacant?
That analysis has been done. In the case of Burns, the decision was made that even analyzing the impact and cost to work around the students, the logistics of bringing the students to another location just was not feasible in the eyes of the superintendent's office. And so the decision was made that, the cost benefit ratio was not there. In the terms of Buckley, the impact for working around, because the systems replacement and the reconfiguration was so extensive as compared to Burns. Burns, the classrooms will be basically the classrooms that you see now with a new lease on life. In Buckley, with the revised program, we're essentially doing as we've done at MLK and Weaver and previous projects, where we're stripping the building to structure and coming up with a completely new layout. So in order to implement such a drastic change at Buckley, the impact was something on the order of $20 million versus having an empty school. So that cost benefit analysis definitely pushed in the direction of getting the students out of the building so that we could implement the project more systematically and at a reduction in price that was fairly significant. So it really depends on the program intended for each building, and we will continue to do that analysis as each new project comes along.
Thank you for that explanation.
Next project is Buckley. Sal is happily on vacation with his daughter's wedding, and so I'll be providing the update on Buckley. We are currently in the abatement and demolition phase of the project. The Board of Ed effort has been completed, including the new visitor center, which provides access to the Board of Ed offices, furniture and technology that support that. And the last portions which had been hanging out there were some specialty signage needs in multiple languages, and those signs have been received and installed. So the early phases of the Buckley process, for Board of Ed, central office, et cetera, are now complete. For the renovation of the building itself, as I mentioned, demo and abatement are underway. We are nearing the end of design for both the intermediate phase, which will be site work, concrete and steel, for a small addition to the building, and also the commissary, which is a district-wide support function. Following that will be the renovation phase for the building. We're actually going to come out to bid closer together than we thought in cranking the numbers for the site work, steel and concrete phase. There were impacts due to soils issues on site that are prompting a redesign, which will save in excess of a couple of $1 million. So we have delayed going out to bid with that intermediate concrete, steel, and site work phase so that we can implement that redesign. And by tweaking the site work, we'll be able to avoid spending those dollars. That will lead us to releasing that next phase in mid-October, and the renovation phase of the work will follow out to bid sometime in November. So we're making good progress on the design, and also spending a little time in that site work redesign so that we can avoid spending a significant chunk of dollars. Antonetta, you have anything that Cap would like to add to that report?
Jack, I think you gave a pretty good overall. I'm going to have Cheryl give some more details on just the demo and abatement so that the team is up to date. As Jack mentioned, OSCGR, we're planning to get in front of them in September. It's great that the team is working together to find cost savings for this project. Cheryl, do you want to give a little bit more detail on demo and abatement?
Sure. So for phase 5 for demo and abatement, we have ongoing monitoring of remediation activities. We also have abatement in the VOAG building, which is nearing completion. Containment area on the 4th floor has been removed as this area is completed with the exception of the flooring. We have continuation of MEP demo in the gym and boiler room. We have hanging of temporary lighting ongoing throughout the entire building. Soils removal and install of gravel in the fields are ongoing. And additional test pits were taken to identify soils in multiple areas on the site. Regarding phase 6 for site foundations and structure, construction document plan completion review with OSCGR scheduled for September is noted. And we continue to have ongoing discussions and coordination of construction activities within an occupied space of the building. And that concludes our CAP update. Are there any questions?
How are we moving along as scheduled with the construction?
At present, we're essentially on budget with the progress of the demo and abatement. As I said, we're spending a little more time on the design side of phase 5 in order to avoid spending some site work dollars, but it's projected that that will not affect the ultimate occupancy of the building, or reoccupancy of the building, I should say, for the fall semester in 2024. So we're still able to meet the original target date for occupancy.
Jack, I also want to add to the group, we are experiencing some COVID delays. The team is actually doing a great job to get ahead of these delays in either pre-order or monitor the schedule of delivery. At the moment, there are no delays to the current occupancy of the building.
Since you brought that up regarding COVID delays, and as we continue to pay attention to the numbers, as unfortunately as they continue to spike, is there any type of contingency plan in place?
We have protocols that we experienced on other jobs during the height or the ramping up of COVID related responses in the spring of 2020 that can be implemented should the health and welfare concerns come back. Right now, the nature of COVID impacts on the projects across the state, I guess essentially nationwide, have been related to materials availability. For example, a recent conversation with a window manufacturer where, again, windows are often critical path materials on a project like this, had indicated prior to March of 2020, they had 1,400 people on the floor in their factory. At present, they've only been able to muster 800 folks coming back to work. Some of that is tied to the fact that folks are looking at their enhanced unemployment check versus coming back to work and deciding to wait a little while and ride that out. But there are slowdowns in the availability of some building products. Some of it is material availability driven, some of it is labor driven, but all of those factors are being investigated so that we can keep track of them, as Antoinette noted, so that we're not held to some surprise. Some of the members may recall a recent change order regarding the Board of Ed space where we needed to buy some equipment that was other than what was specified because the lead time on what was specified was simply unacceptable. So we shifted gears and bought some different equipment that was available within the occupancy timeline, which unfortunately cost us a little bit more, but it did allow us to get the Board of Ed out of rented space and into their new home at Buckley on time. So we're continuing to investigate and manage those risks, as the design develops.
Speaking of about that regarding labor costs, I know that due to COVID, the lumber cost had significantly increased. Are we seeing that still being impactful in our budget?
In the nature of our projects, lumber isn't as large a component. We do see lumber with things like roof blocking and wood flooring in gyms and the like. But even though those lumber costs did spike, we are seeing those material costs begin to recede. We're not nearly down to what they were a year and a half ago. but they have dropped at least 25% from the peaks. And we're hopeful that we'll see continued improvement as the workforce returns, as mills open, as factories are able to get more raw product, so that some of it is just supply and demand. Some of the prices have gone up just because there isn't enough of their product, such as roof insulation, available, which is driving up the price of what little bit is in the market. People are bidding against each other in order to get it now rather than waiting months for it. But we do see the likelihood that some of those prices will soften, which again, we're hoping by the time the bids come in, the market will have responded to some of that retraction in costs, and our bids could potentially be lower than what we're estimating at this point. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and we've built the worst case into the estimates, and let's hope that we get a pleasant surprise on bid day.
Jack.
Hi, Kurt, would you make some comments on on the labor side of life?
Mute myself. Good morning, everyone. I should say good afternoon. What you see before you, it looks like some of the report was cut off, but this would be a report that's reflective of the Board of Education move. That figure is going to stand at 27.1% in terms of, it wasn't cut off, great. In terms of residency participation, the demo abatement activity is another report. I believe it's the last page in the report that was sent to you. It should show residency participation at 31%, just short of 6,000 hours. We expect that to rise significantly as we have a number of verifications that are lagging. However, we're still at a decent spot with the 31%. Again, that's with the Buckley demo abatement. Martin Luther King is going to end at about 26.3%. And we expect to have, something in black and white for you guys in terms of a narrative with our next report. I apologize for not having one for you this month. But to end, moving forward, we expect the Buckley numbers to rise. We do use the city standards in terms of verifying residents. And we do have a few who, for minor reasons, we couldn't verify the report. Verify their residencies. I said we expect the numbers to drive up once we get more bodies on the site. Obviously for Buckley and Burns, we're waiting for them to bid. If there's any questions I can answer to the best of my ability.
Another factor regarding labor for both Buckley and Burns is that since personnel, whether it be Board of Ed staff or students being in the building during the work, we are running all labor participants through background checks. We've been using the same methodology that the Board of Ed uses for their own personnel and volunteers. And so far, there have been an occasional glitch that has hung up the responses to be a little longer than desired, but not for lack of trying. And generally, although we ask the contractors to submit at least a week in advance so that the background check process has at least 5 working days, in reality, the vast majority of the folks are being screened within 2 to 3 days. So that's been working well. We've had very little incidents of folks who have not passed muster. But again, we keep encouraging the contractors and eliciting the support of the labor unions to make that list of personnel known as early in the project as possible, so that we can do the background checks and not have a choke point of I need Bob on Thursday and this is Tuesday morning. Please run his background check now. So we have been getting better submissions, more timely submissions from the contractors to give more lead time to the process. But overwhelmingly, the process has been going ahead of schedule with with a shorter number of working days required to pass people, to check people through the system. And that for other projects in the future that will be occupied renovations, we're expecting to follow the same protocols. Any questions regarding that?
Yes, I have a question. How long does it take to complete a background check?
As I noted, the plan that we've asked the contractors to work within is five business days, and for the vast majority of the checks have cleared within 2 to 3.
Great. So have we seen any gaps in getting making sure that labor is accounted for and on the jobs with the background checks?
I'm not aware of any shortages that have been suffered due to having to wait for the background check process. Again, sometimes it can become a self-inflicted wound by the contractor not submitting names timely enough in order to give the process the opportunity to work. We've had a couple of very rare exceptions where the check has taken longer than anybody would want, and a lot of that can be attributed to incomplete information on the application. If the individual is not clear with the information they provide, or if there are gaps in the information that's being requested, sometimes it gets into the hopper, gets looked at, and then has to get pitched back to the contractor to have the blanks filled in, and that does extend the process. But that was the subject of discussions we had with the unions last week in our monthly meeting to reinforce the fact that in order to be a good partner with you, the labor force, we need you to be a good partner with us by ensuring that you're not just handing paper across the desk, that you check it first, make sure that your potential employee to be assigned to our project has given us the information necessary to be successful in pursuing the process. And they seem to understand that they also have a part to play in being a good partner.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may also ask another question.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Nat Gale again, Director of Operations. Jack, could you or the team just explain this report, how it relates to the last page in the packet? Because I see the last page also is about Buckley High School renovation, local worker utilization.
Now, I think this is a page that Kurt was referring to. It should go right after the one we were just looking at. It was just the way that it merged into the PDF, but this is the one that Kurt was referring to. It should be right after this page.
So if I could jump in, the first report is the Board of Ed relocation. And the last report refers to the demo abatement, and that's from the LCP tracker that the city used. Because there was some, I guess, ambiguity on what reports were going to be used, we used Nutmeg's tracking report for the Board of Ed relocation. That's why the formatting is different.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
And just to respond to Kurt's comment, we are now using the reporting platform that procurement uses for all city-directed projects. We had an independent platform over the last 10 to 20 years that was of a different platform. It turned out to be not cost-effective to continue using that platform. As we were adopting a new platform, we relied on a template that Nutmeg uses on their other projects so that we could keep the information flowing. Now that we're on the same technology platform that the city uses, these reports will be much more digestible by all folks at the city to be able to compare project to project, and they would have the chance to aggregate the the information amongst all the projects that the city pursues in order to to compare data. So this is the format that you'll see in future reports.
Thank you.
All right, going back to project updates, Ryan, would you touch on the Buildings and Grounds roof project?
Yeah, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, could you give us on the give us the update on Buildings and Grounds?
Well, we've received the bids last month, or actually a month and a half ago, and we value engineered it, and we went back to the state with OSCGR, and they've agreed to. We were over about $100,000 from what we need to achieve the project, and OSCGR is a 40% reimbursement, and we needed an additional $100,000, which they in kind have agreed and put it in writing that they will support an additional $100,000, i.e., which would be the 40% more reimbursement. Unfortunately, right now with the back to COVID and supplies, there's a short supply on insulation. So it looks like the project likely will not get off the ground until early spring, unless there's a sudden release of insulation, which is, I think we're finding throughout all the projects, this to be a problem. But we are ready to move forward. The contractor's agreed to lock his price in. So that is not going to be an issue, being with a concern of possibly coming back and asking for more money due to the delay. But at this point, again, it's a spring start, and our finances are coming together.
Does the committee have any questions on the Buildings and Grounds roof? Okay, hearing none, we will be revising the project budgets to the official new budget of $900,000. So you'll see that revised figure as the months move forward. Okay, Em, what else may we have to discuss today?
That's about it. That's the last page. So it is for the chairman to call for other business or adjournment.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack, for the status, project status report. Next, we have our equal employment opportunity status report.
That was touched on in the context of the Buckley discussion.
Thank you for that. Any questions regarding the EEO report outside of what was already asked? Seeing none, we can move along to the project closeout.
The three projects that you see listed here are the last of the, we refer to them as the legacy projects that were implemented by the city prior to our participation as the program managers. Several projects, as we discussed a month or so ago, had received waivers of what the state was calling audit deficiencies, which really manifested itself as dollars which the city would be obligated to repay to the state. So that was a very welcome piece of special legislation. The three projects that have not yet been fully closed out by the state are listed here. Pathways, which is a project that got started and then didn't come to fruition. Central admin component of Hartford Public High, and some code work at Betances. Those have been audited, as is noted, and are in various stages of review of the final report, rebuttals by the city, and ultimately will lead to close out sometime in the next several months. And with those three out of the way, we will be current with audits up to Weaver and MLK, which, as we noted, will be submitted as promptly as we possibly can. Any questions on project closeout?
Looks like there's none. Moving on, do we have any other business to discuss?
Other than to loop back with Stan to see, do we have any questions or offers of participation from the public?
Okay. Since it appears that we have no other business to discuss, we'd like to make note that our next meeting is scheduled for September 20th, 2021 at 12 o'clock, and more than likely it will still be continued as a Zoom HSBC meeting. So I would like to thank everyone who logged on today and who participated, and a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Craig Stallings.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded, and it has any other discussions? Seeing none, indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, this meeting is now adjourned. Please continue to stay safe and stay healthy. Continue to protect yourself and one another. And until next time, have a good day.
Have a good one.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.